discussed. It's more like a case study. But today's perspective is not just about structuring or analysis, but there are some interesting facts as well that you need to figure out. So let's focus on those facts and then go back to the analysis. The first article is about Harappan language. So let's go back to this IVC, Indus Valley Civilization. Here we are not looking at facts, we are looking at the purpose behind those facts. Before we get into the subject and the details, let us look at the reasons why we are studying history. Okay. Now let's say, for example, in history, according to you, why are we studying history? In history we can just about read anything and everything. But what is the purpose of reading history? Yesterday I made a statement. If you understand about human behavior and human nature, you will understand this exam much better. How many of you would have cared to study about history if it was not for this exam? Okay. Would you read the same subject if it is not for your exam? I mean, all the subjects with the same interest. Okay. Every person will have their own interest and inclination. One of you might like history, others like maths, someone else will like biology, social sciences, language. Anything and everything will have a reason behind our choices. But in history, you are learning some important facets, some variables which remain constant across different timelines. Throughout our human history, some things remained unchanged. Can you tell me one such thing which remained unchanged throughout our history? Something about human nature. Greediness. Something that did not change, will not change. A will to survive more than anything else. Survival instinct. So history is studied fundamentally, not just history, anything is studied with maximizing our survival instincts. Remember this point. There is one more article where we are going to discuss this, and it's again important. Now, in history, we also have art and culture. Why do we study art and culture in our syllabus? Or what do we study? Why do we study? Both these questions you should answer. Why do we care? You remember so many facts. Why do we care? Why should you care? So what? Why should I care about our culture? Okay. Okay, value. When you say value, you are saying it is a preference. Do you take pride in your preferences? Yes or no? Yes. Why? It reflects who we are. So, values are manifesting in our way of life. Can I say that? Can I say values, whatever we prefer in our life, they manifest in how we live our life? Is it safe to say that? How we live our life is nothing but a collection of all those things, is nothing but culture. Can I say that? Now, culture is a representation, collective representation of how we want to live our life. if one culture is considered to be superior and the other inferior, naturally the group that feels that they are marginalized will retaliate. And it is not a logical thing, it is an emotional thing. So when you talk about any element of culture, let's say for example language, cuisine, art form, dialect which is related to language, all of this will give an identity and a sense of belonging which will either keep the people together or break them apart. It is with this context let's understand the news article of Harappan civilization and the need to decipher Harappan language. But first things first, what is this Harappan language? We are talking about the language that is yet to be deciphered or yet to be understood, and the time period that you have to think is 2600 BC, nearly 5000 years ago or even more. In this time period, how was their life like? What did they do? How did they live their life? And since this civilization is considered to be the earliest phase of urbanization in this India, in this country, we want to know much more about our civilization because it will give us an identity. Imagine that you are one of the oldest civilizations in the world. Earliest human beings who lived the most scientifically advanced life compared to that era have resided on this same country's land, and you know nothing about them. And if you ignore that part of history, you are actually ignoring your identity, and psychologically your identity is linked to how you perform in your day-to-day life. The idea of a nation, when you say a nation, in Telugu there is a saying, Desam ante matti kadoi, desam ante manushuloy, Gurijada Apparo. What does it mean? What constitutes human beings? Their thought. What about their thought? How they view themselves, their fellow human beings, and the collective consciousness of that idea that keeps them together. What keeps them together? Something common. What is that commonness? We are striving to create that commonness through the idea of a nation. Unlike elsewhere in the world, like say for example in Europe, where the identity is linked to their race. The idea of a nation state is a Western concept, where you are talking about creation of a nation based on a racial identity. For example, all the Germans will have Germany. But that's not the case in India. Our idea of nation and the national consciousness is a product of interaction between multiple cultures, and you will see that despite having so many identities, we have commonly created one identity called Indianness. And that Indian identity's roots is what we are trying to connect to. It is in this context language becomes a very contentious issue. Why? Because in politics, mobilization of power can happen on language lines as well. You have Tamil Nadu who associate language as their identity, and in the north they associate Hindi with their identity, and even the politicians have a divide on what should be the language of this country. Okay, default language. People in the north say that you have to push for Hindi, and people in the south say that we have to push for whatever is our mother tongue, because if you want to converse with us, we need to have a language that is not just useful between two people but also useful globally. If I learn English, I will get a job. What will I get if I learn Hindi? This is the argument. Because they see a cultural disconnect with Hindi. Okay? They have more interaction with English and the British lifestyle than Hindi. And in the northern part of the country, they associate the language of Hindi to its origins of Sanskrit, which stands for our cultural identity, and therefore there is a divide, the Dravidian and the Aryan divide. There are many theories, and both these sides are trying to gain some monopoly over oldest civilization of this earth, one of the oldest. The difference between this civilization and other civilizations is that whatever you found at this place, there is a cultural continuity even till today. This is a previous year question, 2016 or 14. 16 I guess, somewhere 14 or 16. Unlike in Sumerian civilization, Egyptian civilization, you see a sense of cultural continuity in Indus Valley civilization. Discuss. The reason is, from one generation to another generation, the so-called values or our way of life and therefore our culture was passed on. And for that reason, you need to protect our culture. Because if someone disrespects us, because ultimately human beings live with dignity, and therefore culture is an essential part of the dignity of a human being. Take that away from them, there is no difference between an animal and human beings. It is in this context we are trying to decipher Harappan language. Why am I telling about all the story behind? You can directly go and summarize and tell the points, right? No. You need to know the importance of language and how should you develop an opinion with respect to language if you are going to be a policy maker. Right. I often quote this to my mentees who are there in my mentorship programs as well. I always say, language is an emotional issue. Cuisine is an emotional issue. And I equate that with an affinity towards, see, you call this language as mother tongue. Mother tongue. And I always say the same analogy. You cannot compare the love of a mother between, two mothers. It's almost the same. It's not like a competition. How can you say that my mother's love is better than your mother's love? It's just pointless. You are raised eating one kind of a food throughout your life in your childhood. It tastes much better to you. It may not be the case with someone else. Do I make sense? Let's say, for example, you are from Hyderabad and you had this biryani. You think this is the best biryani. And someone else from Kolkata or Lucknow or Dindigal or any other place comes up and says, this is the best biryani. There's no point arguing. Eat both. Have fun. Why should you compete? It's pointless. And this sense of competition is why it flares up emotions. And it is the duty of leaders to calm them down, to soothe them down, to look at those issues which are common to our ideas. Like you might be a Telugu, Tamilian, Hindi or whatever may be your primordial identity. But at the heart of it, there is this Bharatiya identity or the national consciousness. What is that national consciousness? What do we stand for? Look at the preamble of the Constitution, you will find an answer. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into certain adjectives, you will find it there. That is the national consciousness that we should be focusing on. Clear? So, in this bit, now, with this understanding, let's go back to the facts. What is this news about? See, there is a meeting of the Ministry of Culture where people from different backgrounds, like say a software engineer who was studying about the script of Harappa. They were trying to discover what this is all about. Here, people from different walks of life are coming together to make sense of it. And if they discover it, you will have, unleashed a new chapter in our history where we get to know our past much better. That will help us in reconstructing the misunderstood parts of our history. And that will help us in our claim towards soft power. Understood? Here you have to see the politics behind it. Tamil Nadu government announced that anyone who deciphered the Harappan script would be getting some prize money. I don't know, 1 million or 1 crore, whatever. Okay? So how should you use this article? You have your NCERT Fine Arts textbook, class 11. You have your new NCERTs, old NCERTs, Tamil Nadu textbooks. No matter which one you pick, you will come across some facts. What are the seals that are found? Where will you find them? What kind of artifacts do you have? What is the material that it is made out of? So while you are reading them, think of the material they are made out of. The material they are made out of either gives you the geography or the trade relations from which part that material came. It will tell you about the skills of the artisans who created those seals. It will tell you a story that you didn't know just by observation. And that is the purpose of history. History is not just written in books. It is reconstructed by historians through archaeology, scriptures, inscriptions, travelogues. And you corroborate all these different sources, create a story and tell the world what it was about. And that is the purpose of history. Okay? You learn from history to ensure that you avoid the mistakes. So, you understood the conceptual part. Now, how to use this for prelims and mains? This year you have had a question. Discuss the salient features of Harappan architecture. When I ask you Harappan architecture, you can get the facts. What architectural elements can you find? You have had the Great Bath, you have had the citadel, the walled cities, the planning, all this part you can write. It is not just about listing of facts. What do they stand for? What value are they communicating? That is what you should portray in your answers. By revising them and also going through these facts mentioned here. Let's say for example, there are some facts here which you would normally not remember. They might be in your textbooks, but you will not remember them. So if a certain news article is highlighting an already known fact, it's a cue for you to check if these facts are there in your previous year questions or not. Go through the chapter wise previous year questions in prelims as well as mains. Highlight those facts, memorize them. And also, if you were asked to form an opinion on any issue like language, the first half of the discussion, which is not just related to this, it's universally related. That's how you should create a opinion. I hope you understood it. Let's move to the next article. Who wants to live forever? Again, a very interesting article. Okay. So, this is in the context of the Tianjin Summit, on the sidelines of the Tianjin Summit, which is a summit of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Now, what happened here? There is an interesting concept discussed by Vladimir Putin as well as the Chinese leader. Is it 11 Jinping? Or Xi Jinping? Okay. For the sake of convenience, even if you want to call him 11, it's okay. Xi Jinping. Anyway. So, in that summit, there is a discussion about a concept called transhumanism. You watched this movie, Rajnikant's Robo, right? 10-15 years ago, it felt like science fiction. Today, not so much. We're almost there. Except maybe, of course, we do not want the robots to take over, or maybe we don't want Rajnikant's robot competing with the real version of for attention of Aishwarya Rai. That's a different story. We'll get back to the concept here. The core reason we are talking about, blurring of the lines between machines, technology, human lives, and the impact they will have on our day-to-day lives. Interesting concept for a movie. How about Robo 3.0? Interestingly enough, this science fiction that we are talking about is almost close to reality thanks to the emerging technologies that we have. So what is transhumanism? It's a pursuit of human beings to make our lives better using the existing technologies. How? Interestingly, in the summit, Russian leader, he mentioned about how human beings can live up to 150 years. I don't know what we'll be doing. 150 years. We are losing our hair by 25. What would we do at 150? So unless the technology improves the quality of life, what's the point? This is the question that you need to raise from a science and technology aspect for your essay. So this article is an extremely rare piece. Like, you wouldn't come across articles like this for development of your essay thoughts. So use this article for that brainstorming. I'm raising a series of questions. Instead of just giving you information, start answering and participating. What's the point of life? Very deep philosophical question. We are too young to understand, but let's give it a shot. What's the point? Yes? Go ahead. Anyone, everyone. Fulfilling some dreams. Dreams are fulfilled. What next? Being kind to each other. Is it something that you want or wish? You think that is already there in human beings, or you wish it? Practice. Can technology make us kind? It can make us live for 150 years. Maybe it can give us engineered babies. You will have the looks of Mahesh Babu or whoever is your hero. You can have the best of the world with these technologies. What next? What is the difference? Like, observe human history. We are not okay with being equal. What propels us? If everybody is equal, what propels us to grow? What is the biggest drawback of communist society? Lack of incentive to grow. Why should we have an incentive in the first place? Competition. Why should we have competition? Let us all be very honest. Do you want competition? Do you want to compete? Is there anyone who likes competing? Yeah, I have so much interest in competing and I want to prove. Okay, you compete. I will give you, for the sake of this exam itself. See, this is a essay question, that's essay discussion, and it is for that reason I am just posing questions. I am not here to summarize and leave it at that. I am not here to give you stories also. So if you are noting down some points, learn how to structure that essay. Okay. I am asking this question. If everybody feels that they don't want competition, but you get a high when you compete, what is this paradox? I began my lecture saying that you have to understand human thought, human behavior. you will understand this exam. What propels us? Survival instinct. Why do you want to survive? What makes you think that if you are not competing, you are not surviving? Let's be very honest. Do you think anyone in this class is having scarcity of resources that you are competing for this exam? Hope for a better future. Okay. Correct. You came into the correct zone. There is something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs in psychology. Maslow's W or V, whatever you want. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know what was the slogan of the government in 1970s? Garibi Hatao. Do you think any government will stand a chance with that slogan today? Why? It's just not dramatic enough to appeal to your thought. Are we poor? Are we poorer? Are we richer? You don't know where you stand. Relatively, yes. So, I'm talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is linked to our desire. So, you want roti, kapda, makan, and finally, in this Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the highest thing that you want is self-actualization or realization. This transhumanism is a philosophy that strives to make life better and better. We are moving in this direction. So, are you saying that technology is going to take us in this direction, that you are self-aware? See, it is proven universally that if you want roti, kapda, makan, everything is taken care. You want, acceptance in the society. You want social status, respect. After that stage, you want peace of mind. After that stage, you don't want anything, you just want to live. So you will see a parallel between psychology and Indian philosophy and Indian way of life. Indian way of life. What is this Indian way of life? If you read in our sociology, you will see that there is a concept called Purushartha. What is that Purushartha? There are 4 stages in our life, or objectives that a human being is supposed to fulfill. Dharma, Arth, Kam, Moksha. Okay. What is that moksha or moksha? It is nothing but what you know as self-actualization. In psychology. So the end goal of philosophy and psychology, as far as human beings are concerned, is this. Now tell me, how can transhumanism take me there? What is transhumanism again? Transhumanism is a pursuit where, with the use of technology, we are improving the quality of life. Quality. What constitutes this quality? Is it more wealth? You are free to decide. You are free to define this quality of life in your essay. See, I am not here to give you philosophical gyan. I am using this article to help you figure out how to write an essay. And in this process, I am also giving you some facts. Now, tell me, if you want to prove, see, this is how I want to prove. The ultimate pursuit of human beings if you take a look back at our history, has been this. Either you want to take the spiritual or the philosophical route, or you want to take the route of psychology. The answer is similar. But no human being will directly want to go there. I don't want to take names, but especially South India has this phenomenon where every superstar goes on to become a politician, gets accepted, then rejected, then accepted, retires, leaves a legacy, moves on. Repeat. New star, new generation, new politician, same old slogans, same old legacy, same old problems. Why? Why aren't we going for the root cause fix? Why is history repeating itself? This time I will quote the same old thinker. History repeats itself. First time as a tragedy, second time as a farce. Take any politician's speech from different eras. The same rhetoric repeats. Why? Because this is how human beings function. But this is a very pessimistic view. Am I saying that the quality of life is same at 1947 and 2025? Absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Because take any metric, quality of life has improved. We are not poor. Nobody is dying of hunger as many people as they did in 1947. We have better vaccinations, we have better medical technology. Our average life expectancy increased, literacy increased. How? Isn't it because of scientific temper? True. There is other side of the coin. Our attention span now is worse than that of a goldfish. Physically we are getting better, mentally we are getting degraded is what scientists prove. And it is at this critical juncture the concept of transhumanism, where the boundaries are blurring between human beings and machines. Now with AI and newer technologies like IoT, biotechnology, quantum computing, we are talking about longevity of human beings. We want human beings to live for 150 years. I mean, let us take the natural course, because Earth's carrying capacity is just not conducive for this change. It will have repercussions, mass impact will be there. So, what constitutes the definition of quality and how should we use technology is a very important debate. And always, I'm not asking you to take the direction of pessimism. Don't say technology created Instagram, people are addicted to Instagram, our attention span is falling. Technology is value neutral. It is neither good nor bad. I quote the same example. For every person who criticizes Oppenheimer for creating an atomic bomb, you should remember there is a Homi Baba who created a nuclear reactor. The science behind that is same. The thought of using and putting it to use is different. That is what you should be focusing on. Now, anyway, here we are talking about an opportunity to increase the quality of life, but there are some ethical issues. How is this going to factor in the existing inequalities and the systemic biases? Is it addressing them? If not, it will only increase the inequality, and that builds resentment. Link this to Indian philosophy. So science is not different from philosophy. So at the heart of transhumanism is a desire to improve the quality of life. That can be the intent, but is it actually happening? Technology improved the quality of life physiologically, but with the advent of AI and in the absence of learning pathways that doesn't encourage scientific temper, the danger is we are slaves to technology. Technology can be a great slave, but a dangerous master. And therefore, transhumanism should be done with a lot of ethical responsibilities and guardrails. Otherwise, it's a tragedy in happening. And you can end this essay with Buddha's fourfold truth. There is suffering. There is a cause of suffering. There is a possibility of cessation of suffering, and I will show you the path. Desire is the cause of suffering. So your desire to increase your materialistic wealth will put earth under more and more pressure, and you have only one earth. Therefore, use technology responsibly, and this should be the conclusion. Okay, so this is how you can use this article. If you want any other pointers like how transhumanism can make our life better, there are enough number of examples given in this. For example, you can take the case of Neuralink, which is brain and sensors. There is a sensor that you would put in the head which will understand how you are thinking, and it will almost automate. A project by Elon Musk. Do we really need that? We were doing fine. Not everyone needs to be super intelligent, right? Ignorance is sometimes bliss. But imagine everyone walking around with a chip in their headset and nobody knows how they are thinking. Who is controlling that? Aren't we complicating our lives? Anyway. So you have many technologies like CRISPR, which is a very important, significant biotechnology innovation. Like say for example, cancer research. It is helpful in gene editing. So technological innovations like this and convergence of these technologies will definitely improve our physical quality of life. But what about the mental part? That's a different question. And this is how I want you to curate an argument using this article. Moving on. Listen to the Gen Z next door. This article I'll talk about. Why was Indonesia rocked by protests? The article in Gen Z issue and the article in Indonesia and the issues that are happening in India have some similarities. So I want to club all of them and let's talk. Again, let's relate it to the social contract theory between the individual and the state. Same old boring topic. When will the youth of this country be resentful? They were resentful when TikTok was banned. What else? Freedom is restricted. Unemployment, corruption. Yes? Responsibility on? Okay. Quality of life. Okay. Let's go back to the GS syllabus. Let's go one by one. Paper by paper. Society. Inequality is a problem. What are the existing inequalities in Indian society? Caste, class, gender, economic, that is class. Whatever inequalities that you can think of. There is regionalism, communalism, all this are fractures that can divide the society and create those inequalities. GS2, there is on paper so many rights that we have, but in reality governance is broken. GS3, you say that we are the fourth largest economy in this country. And the same government report, NFHS round 5, says that some 50%, 40 to 50% of the women are anemic. In the coexistence of these paradoxes, what is growth? What is development? What keeps people happy? The threshold always increases. Like I told you, Garibi Hatao as a slogan for governments will not work now, because we have already eradicated poverty as it existed back then. We need something better. We need opportunities. We need avenues where we feel happy doing what we want. We should feel like our potential is being explored. And it's universal. Whether it is Indonesia, Nepal, India. So what are the parameters that you need to focus on? Let's go back to polity and economy, GS2 and GS3, and combining them with GS4. So, in governance, we are talking about processes, and in that processes you need accountability, transparency. Correct? What is the end goal? Justice. What is the idea of justice? All sections get their due. That is fair. We spoke about this concept of justice multiple times. Now, from economic perspective, we are talking about inclusive growth. What is inclusive growth? An economic activity has two sides, supply, demand. So, a growth model that makes people participants in, supply side, that is production side, and also in the demand side. You are coming together to produce something, selling it, and also redistributing it. Everybody should feel like they are a part of this process. That's when you will be linked to justice. So, with this both, you will have so-called socio-economic justice. It's as simple as this. Correct? Social and economic justice. But is this enough? What stops this? The difference between wish list and reality is a gap filled with human greed and procrastination. One section is greedy, other section is lazy. How do we bridge that? Again, it boils down to human nature. So, it's a collective process which requires dialogue. So, in this process, both in governance and economy, youth are the most vulnerable section because they are the future of this country. Whatever happened in Indonesia, whatever happened in Nepal is a lesson for India also. Youth are the catalyst of growth for any nation. And if you keep them unhappy, revolutions brew, governments change, regimes change, history changes. This is the lesson that we have to take away. Okay. Finally, we will talk about this case study. How Kerala is tackling rapid urbanization. See, we spoke about urbanization the other day. Now, we also said that we need to come up with a framework that addresses all the things that we listed down. What if a single body is given the responsibility to achieve all of those? And that's exactly what happened in the case of Kerala, because take a look at this statistic. It is expected that by 2050, 80% of Kerala is going to be urbanized. So it's a challenge. Why is it a challenge? Take a look at the topography. Someone told me that we have to consider topography also, right? In the other day's class. Why should we consider topography? Because if you dismantle a mountain just like that for the sake of your own convenience, nature can show its fury. You can have floods, you can have landslides, or a combination of both. In 2018, that's exactly what happened in Kerala. Recently, even in Ernakulam, there was a landslide. Why is this happening? Primarily because there is no respect for nature. Am I saying this? No. Kasturi Rangan committee is saying this. Madhav Gadgil committee is saying this. Our opinions don't matter. Expert opinions do. So, taking into consideration all these points, we came up with the Kerala Urban Policy Commission. An important case study for other states, because take a look at this. Does it offer any lessons for other states? Read this. I have posted it on my Telegram channel as well. Kerala's Urban Commission offers a template with takeaways. Time-bound commission, technical data, contact the local people, take care of all the needs, ecological, economical, social, combine them, plug it with real-time data engine, and take decisions. So, what are the features here? You can use this exact keywords in your answers. So, please highlight this. Climate and risk-aware zoning. So, you are not planning according to your wish. Let's say you want 1 acre in Madhapur or Kokapet. If that area is sitting on, let's say, a wetland, usually you know what will happen. But if you respect the boundaries of nature, they will plan it around that by bypassing it to maintain the sanctity. Now, the Planning Commission also came up with this Digital Data Observatory, a real-time institute which acts like a nodal center where all the data is collected. Then you have green fees, a new concept. Let's say, how many times did you switch on your tap and kept on brushing? Why can't you just shut it after you use it? You don't, because it's free. What if you are charged for it? If you think it's a luxury, you will treat it like luxury. Yes or no? So they started levying this fees, green fees. Next, how would you get finance? Governance is about funds, functions and functionaries. Where will you get funds? Municipal and pooled bonds. Cities are raising monies because they will charge fees from it and make profits and give to the investors. This is the municipal bond. And funds, functions and functionaries. If the functionaries do not have power, what will they do here? So, Kerala is planning to move towards a mayor system, not a bureaucratic driven system. There is direct accountability. And then you have place-based economic revival. Not every city in, let's say, the Telugu states should be an IT hub. Every place has its own economic significance. Why don't you nurture them and compete with not just the national markets but also the global markets? For example, the coastal states of Andhra Pradesh, they have a lot of blue economy potential. Why don't you nurture them into blue economy hubs? And that's what the governments are doing. Similarly, even Kerala is trying to do the same thing. Here there is a example. Kochi is known as the fintech hub. The next wave of jobs is coming from fintech, and Kochi is establishing itself as the fintech hub. And you will see that similarly Thiruvananthapuram, Kozhikode actually has UNESCO heritage recognition. Intangible heritage. It's called the city of literature. Palakkad and Kasaragod are elevated to smart city zones, smart industrial zones. So this regional planning, climate awareness, digital data observatory and governance, all of them are combined together in one package, and that makes this an excellent case study to use in your answers. This essay is actually, this article is written by member of KUPC and a former deputy mayor of Shimla. So they brought experts in urbanization studies from all over the country and created this 2000 page report 2359 page report. Obviously we can't study all of that. Therefore articles like this become extremely important for your substantiation and value addition. Okay, that's it for the day. We'll meet in tomorrow's class. Thank you.